The camera slowly fades in, showcasing a breathtaking sunrise over a serene lake at dawn. The soft, golden light of the morning touches the calm surface of the water, creating a shimmering reflection. The peaceful sounds of nature fill the air, the chirping of birds, the rustling of trees, and the gentle lapping of water against the shore. The camera zooms in on a jet ski skimming effortlessly across the surface, cutting through the water with a soft roar. The rider, the narrator, speeds around the lake, leaving a trail behind as the jet ski creates ripples in the otherwise still water. It's the epitome of tranquility and freedom, the ideal way to start the day. Narrator, with excitement and humor, imagine this: you're out on your own lake, the wind blowing through your hair, the sun warming your face, and the rush of adrenaline as you speed across the water on your jet ski. Feels like paradise, right? But hold up, this is MY Lake. I'm on my own property, doing exactly what I've been doing for years. Or so I thought. The camera cuts to a shot of a squad car approaching, its sirens faintly buzzing in the distance, drawing closer as it nears the property. The peaceful ambience of the lake begins to shift as the camera captures the approaching vehicle. Narrator, with a smirk, the tone shifting, but apparently, paradise doesn't exist when you're living on a ranch and dealing with an HOA that thinks they can dictate every little detail of your life. You won't believe this, but the HOA actually called the cops on me for jet skiing on my own lake. Cut to the squad car pulling into the driveway, the officer inside looking unsure of what to expect. The car slows as it reaches the edge of the property, the scene now filled with tension. The jet ski continues to glide effortlessly across the water in the background, unaware of the impending encounter. Narrator, grinning now, you'd think this was just a simple misunderstanding. After all, I'm just enjoying my property. But no, the HOA wasn't having it. They didn't like the noise, they didn't like the sight of me having fun, and they definitely didn't like that I wasn't following their rules. So, they decided to make a call to the cops. You know, because jet skiing on your own lake is apparently a criminal offense, right? The camera cuts to the narrator, still speeding around the lake, but now he's aware of the squad car. The peaceful scene takes on a humorous undertone as the narrator slows down, giving a playful wave in the direction of the officer. Narrator, chuckling, I mean, really, what's next? Are they going to start telling me how to breathe? You won't believe how this all unfolded, but when the deputy showed up and took a look at the situation, he didn't exactly come to the conclusion the HOA was hoping for. Cut to the officer stepping out of the squad car. He's clearly scanning the area, trying to make sense of what's going on. The camera lingers on him as he approaches the narrator's jet ski, looking confused but professional. Narrator, with a knowing grin when the deputy pulled up, I had to admit, I wasn't too worried. I knew what I was doing was legal, and I figured this was just going to be a quick misunderstanding. But little did the HOA know, the deputy wasn't exactly here to side with them. Nope. When he saw the property deed and realized who owned this land, it was game over for them. The camera shows the deputy walking over to the narrator, who's now stopped the jet ski and is casually standing by it. They shake hands, and the camera zooms in on the deputy's confused face as he begins to check his paperwork. Narrator, chuckling lightly so, the deputy walks over, and he's like, all right, let's see what we've got here. He pulls out his paperwork and starts checking the property records. And guess what? When he sees that I own not just the lake, but the land all around it, including the land the HOA's clubhouse sits on, well, let's just say, he wasn't as concerned about my jet ski as they thought he'd be. Cut to a close-up of the deputy looking at the deed, his expression shifting from professional confusion to amusement as he double-checks the ownership information. The camera captures the moment he realizes that the HOA has no jurisdiction here. Narrator, grinning, you should have seen the deputy's face when he saw the deed. He paused for a moment, looked at me, and then, with a smirk, he says, well, I guess there's no issue here, is there? I couldn't help but laugh, because at that point, the HOA had already lost. The camera shows the deputy calmly handing back the paperwork, his face showing a mixture of disbelief and humor. He turns to the squad car, shaking his head in disbelief before leaving the property. Narrator, with a chuckle in the end, the deputy didn't just leave the scene, he left the HOA looking pretty foolish. They called for backup over a jet ski, and instead, they got a lesson in property rights. As for me, well, I just got back on my jet ski, with a little extra satisfaction knowing I'm in the clear. The camera cuts back to the narrator, who now returns to the lake, the jet ski speeding once more through the water, the sound of the engine roaring in the background as the peaceful morning continues. Narrator, smiling, and that, my friends, is how I went from a relaxing morning on the lake to having the HOA begging for permission to even step foot on their own property. Sometimes, the tables turn in the most unexpected ways, and this one? Well, it was a win for me and a major loss for the HOA. Cut to the narrator standing in front of the lake, casually leaning on his jet ski with a knowing smile. The camera zooms out, showcasing the vast expanse of the property and the stunning lake. The peaceful, serene vibe of the scene captures the essence of the narrator's life, a tranquil, private oasis. Narrator, calm but confident, so let me give you some context. I've got a ranch, big one, in the middle of nowhere, with a beautiful lake right in the heart of it. It's a private lake, all mine, fully owned, and I've spent countless hours enjoying everything it has to offer. Fishing, kayaking, swimming, and yes, jet skiing. This lake's been my personal slice of heaven for years. It's where I unwind, recharge, and enjoy the great outdoors. But apparently, the HOA didn't get the memo. Cut to a peaceful shot of the narrator out on the water, speeding across the lake on his jet ski. The sound of the engine revs, and the water splashes around him as he effortlessly glides across the surface. His face shows pure joy and freedom, the lake stretching out endlessly before him. Narrator, with a chuckle, so, one day, I'm out on the water, just doing what anyone with their own private lake would do, having the time of my life on my jet ski. I wasn't bothering anyone, I wasn't trespassing, I wasn't breaking any laws. It was just a perfect, peaceful day, until I noticed something. A figure walking along the shoreline in the distance. Cut to a quick shot of an HOA representative walking along the shoreline, clipboard in hand, watching the narrator with a scrutinizing eye. The camera captures their every move as they make their way along the edge of the property. Narrator, mocking tone now, here's where the fun starts. As I'm zipping around, minding my business, I notice this person. Turns out, it's a representative from the HOA. They're just strolling along, probably taking notes, as if they were some kind of neighborhood cop. At that moment, I knew something was about to go down. And sure enough, it did. Cut to the narrator pretending to talk on the phone with an exaggerated expression of disbelief, shaking his head as if listening to something utterly absurd. Narrator, mocking not long after, I get a call. It's the HOA, and they're giving me the full spiel about how I'm disturbing the peace on my own land. I'm laughing at this point, thinking they're joking. But nope. They go on to tell me that my jet ski is unsafe for the lake. Seriously? Unsafe? On my private property? At first, I thought they were trying to pull a prank on me. Cut to a shot of the narrator pacing around his living room, holding the phone to his ear, looking bewildered as he listens to the HOA's complaints. His voice is dripping with sarcasm as he responds. Narrator, mocking tone, they actually told me that my jet ski was causing environmental harm to the water. Now, I don't know about you, but last time I checked, jet skis weren't classified as toxic waste. I mean, sure, it's loud, but come on, it's a private lake. I'm not disturbing anyone's peaceful morning or getting in anyone's way. But the HOA didn't see it that way. Cut to a shot of the narrator gesturing wildly with his hands as if explaining something ridiculous to a friend. His voice gets a little louder and more dramatic for effect. Narrator, getting worked up, and get this, they told me I was disturbing the natural peace of the lake. They went on and on about lake safety and community guidelines. They were like a bunch of self-appointed lake police, acting like I was breaking some sacred HOA code. All I was doing was enjoying my private lake. But to them, that wasn't good enough. No, they had to prove a point. They weren't about to let me have fun without their permission. Cut to a shot of the narrator rolling his eyes, sarcastically imitating the HOA's tone of voice. Narrator, mocking at this point, I just had to play along. So, I asked them what exactly I was violating. Of course, they couldn't answer that, they just kept repeating the same vague talking points. It was all about community harmony and ensuring safety. But none of their complaints were actually based on anything real. It was just a bunch of rules that didn't apply to me or my land. Cut to a shot of the narrator shaking his head, incredulously listening to the HOA's excuses over the phone. Narrator, smiling, and here's the kicker, they actually had the audacity to threaten to fine me if I didn't comply. But how do you comply with something that doesn't even make sense? I wasn't breaking any laws, and I wasn't disrupting anything. The more they talked, the more I realized they were just trying to control something they had no right to. Cut to the narrator standing by the lake again, his arms crossed, staring out at the water with a thoughtful look on his face. Narrator, with a hint of determination. I knew they were wrong, but I also knew they weren't going to back down easily. The HOA was on a power trip, and I wasn't about to let them dictate how I use my property. Not now, not ever. So I decided to handle it in my own way. But little did they know, this was just the beginning. The scene cuts to a peaceful shot of the narrator standing in front of his ranch house. The sun is shining brightly, and the lake behind him is as serene as ever. A distant rumble of an approaching vehicle fills the air, and the camera slowly zooms in on a sheriff's car pulling up to the property. The siren is faint but audible as the squad car rolls into the driveway. The deputy steps out of the vehicle, looking professional but slightly confused, scanning the peaceful property around him. He glances at the lake, clearly wondering why on earth he's been called here. Narrator, with a grin. So, here's where things take a turn. What do the HOA do next? They escalate it. Yep, someone thought it was a good idea to send the cops to handle the situation. I'm just out here having fun on my jet ski, enjoying the lake I own, and now there's a cop on my property, probably wondering what kind of trouble he's walking into. Cut to the narrator casually walking toward the deputy, smiling confidently. The camera captures the deputy's puzzled expression as he observes the narrator walking up to him, standing tall and relaxed.